I just feel the world is a better place when Brandon Graham is playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm going to just go through this. I can't get too specific here. But I'm just going to say that I had gotten word from somebody that I trust very much that, and it was under the guidance of, hey, I can't say anything because he'll kill me, so I can't say anything. And just so you know, no, it's not Derek Gunn. Let me just throw that out there, okay? BG's coming back. And this was Sunday. It's all but done, okay? So I didn't want to say anything yesterday because it wasn't officially official yet, but yesterday it became official. So then, I go in and I do the pregame show with Seth and Gunner. And first off, my reaction to that was fantastic. That's great. I love that news. And the reason is it's not because of some kind of emotional attachment to Brandon Graham or look, he's been on the show twice, been on this show twice. I love the guy. There's many things I can tell you about Brandon Graham that just like probably only confirm how great a guy you think he is, But with BG coming back, I was like, this isn't some emotional attachment. This isn't nostalgia. This is what the Eagles need. If you would have told me that, hey, the Eagles are going to take a flyer on a guy who recently retired, he's got, almost 80 sacks in his career. He's been a Pro Bowler. He's had an 11-sack season just 3 years ago, that kind of thing. I'd be like, oh, they should get that guy. Who is that guy? Oh, it's Brandon Graham. Oh, great. If his career as a Philadelphia Eagle and 2 Super Bowl championships weren't enough, then you just go on what he's done throughout his career and the attachment to the Eagles. Forget about it for a second. And you just tell me objectively, the Eagles are looking at a recently retired, defensive end, edge rusher. They want to see what they could get out of him. I'm like, yeah, good, great. Because what they got now, that ain't it, man. What the Eagles have right now, that ain't it. So who's the guy? Oh, it's Brandon Graham, a guy who excelled in this Vic Fangio scheme in his only year playing in it. Yeah, I would love to see that guy come back. I almost feel better about it. He didn't have to go through training camp. He didn't have to go through the first 7 games of the season. And probably not going to go through this game. I would very much doubt that the Eagles would sign him and then throw him back on the football field immediately. Now, they did that with Zadarius Smith. So maybe they will do it with Brandon Graham. But I would guess he does not play against the Giants. I would guess that he plays a week after the bye week. Really getting in the swing of things. Reports have been that over the last month or so, he's really been working out, trying to rev himself up to get back into shape and, all that. I would think if I had to bet money he doesn't play in the Giants game, he would play after it. However, again, if I would bet money, I would bet that he plays after the bye week. But it would not surprise me at all if BG was out there on Sunday at 1 o'clock. The reason being, he's played in this system before. He knows the system. He knows the pieces around him. It's not something where, and when they signed Zadarius Smith, he was out there against Kansas City Chiefs. Bang, just like that. And Brandon Graham has played football more recently than Zadarius Smith by the time they signed Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith played in January. Brandon Graham played in February in the Super Bowl. So I'd love to see, just in terms of, I'd love to see him out there on Sunday. I just don't think it happens. I would not be surprised. They need the help. They would certainly need the help against a scrambling quarterback. And yesterday, Vic Fangio already called Jackson Dart an elite scrambler. Okay. We'll let you hear from Vic Fangio on Brandon Graham's return. We'll let you hear from Vic Fangio on facing the New York Giants twice in 3 weeks. Also facing Jackson Dart, what they learned the first time around. We'll also get into what Kevin Patullo had to say yesterday about Jalen Hurts and this offense being under center as much as it was. Now, I went back and I watched the play action passes. It felt like there was a lot more. Maybe there were more play action attempts that ended up being scrambles. I don't know, but there were 4 play action passes in the game against the Vikings. They accounted for 120 yards of Jalen Hurts' 300-plus yard day. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that they were successful. Twice. Well, 3 times. One time they hit 19 yards. The other time they hit 20 yards. And then another time they hit 79 yards and then another time 2 yards. So then it unfortunately killed the average, a little 2-yard pass to Dallas Goedert. But it was a nicely designed play, just didn't work so well. So Kevin Petula talked yesterday about what went into being under center as much as they did, especially when Jalen Hurts even said that going into this game, they wanted to really attack the run game. They wanted to attack that run defense of the Minnesota Vikings. And in the early goings, just like in the Giants game, it looked good. It looked like they were going to run the ball on this. And then they stopped. Everything else started into place. And you also saw two things the Vikings did. One was load up the box. The other was drop 8 back into coverage, which is interesting. And that literally did give Jalen Hurts all day to throw. And I keep going back to this. It's a wild thing to watch a team struggle so much in the run game and flourish most of the time in the pass game. To watch an offensive line go through that is just wild. The other thing we'll get into is 76ers tonight. They're in Boston. And to reiterate what I said yesterday, I can't think of a time, or I can't think of the most optimistic 76ers fan. That's what I was saying yesterday. I can't think of even the most optimistic 76ers fan a month ago telling me, oh, it's going to be great. You watch. Joel Embiid's going to be ready for the opener. VJ Edgecombe's going to look great. Paul George is just going to miss like the first 4 or 5 games of the season, and you're going to be great. Like, I can't imagine even the most optimistic Sixers fan picturing what we have tonight, which is Joel Embiid on the floor playing in tonight's game. And really the only hitch in the giddy-up of the last month has been Jared McCain's injury. That's the only one. Everything else has fallen beautifully into place. And I'm not looking at the last preseason game against Minnesota Timberwolves, excuse me. I'm not looking at the last game against the Timberwolves being like, oh, yeah, no, look at this. The Sixers are going to win the championship based on how they're playing in this final preseason game where they got no starters on the other side of the court playing for the Timberwolves. No, that's not how I'm looking at it. How I'm looking at it as, damn, Joel Embiid looks really healthy. Damn, Joel Embiid looks really comfortable in this position of being at the elbow more so than he is at the block, and almost being more of a forward than he is being a center. And as a matter of fact, with the lineup that we saw in that game, I think that is a taste of things to come for tonight. With Maxey, with VJ Edgecombe, with Kelly Oubre, Joel Embiid, and jumping center and staying down in the boards, Adem Bona, while also running the floor. That's a very interesting lineup. And I do think it is the best version of the 76ers without Paul George and knowing how good he's going to be. Also having Quentin Grimes come off the bench. I think that's going to be the best version of the Sixers until Paul George gets into the swing of things, and then we see what he has to offer this team going forward, until we see Jared McCain be healthy and come off the bench and help the Sixers team try to win basketball games. I'm very excited. And the fact that they started off against the Boston Celtics tonight, this is going to be one that I'm going to be on the edge of my seat for. I feel like it's a very important game. For it being the first game of the season, I feel like it's a very quick draw you in, pull you in type of situation, even though, as we know, the Celtics are without Jason Tatum. So I'm very excited for tonight's game, and I'm very excited to see this more run with us style of play, this fun and gun type of play, this NASCAR package you could see as games unfold, where Bona might be the first one off the court. You might see Quentin Grimes come in to run with VJ Edgecombe, to run with Tyrese Maxey. Then you're talking about the 3 more speedy guards with Oubre going out. I want to see how all that works, and I also want to see how it works with Joel Embiid at the elbow. I'll keep pointing this out. It's not just the state of his career now with all the injuries. Before the last 2 surgeries with Joel Embiid, he ticked his assists up. He wanted to be more like Nikola Jokic. He wanted to set up his teammates. He wanted to be more of a passer. I want to see that last for however many games Joel Embiid plays this year, not just because I think that's where his career has him now injury-wise, but because that's where I think he can be the best on a team like this going forward. Because Joel Embiid's not playing 82 games. Let's get back to the most optimistic 76ers fan. He ain't playing 82 games. So what number would you give Joel Embiid? Like, we go through two numbers here, all right? How many wins do you think the Sixers are going to have? And I'll say that a little bit later today. But how many games do you think Joel Embiid is going to play in this year? My most optimistic, before a little 6-second video came out about a month ago with him working one-on-one with a coach, my most optimistic was, 55 games. Maybe 50, 55 games. Can we get there? And then watching him play the way he's been playing, knowing that he's been practicing, knowing he's been going 5-on-5 for a while now, I'm willing to up it to 65. And that is factoring in all the back-to-backs. It's like 13 back-to-backs the Sixers have. That's insane. Most of the NBA. Joel Embiid certainly not going to be playing in those. Maybe one or two. Maybe. But I doubt it. So I think you could look at it and say 65 games. Now, I don't say that number with any intent or allusion to, or to allude to the MVP award, because that's how many games you have to play. That's the minimum games you have to play in to be up for the MVP award. I just say it because it just happened. That's a coincidence. I don't think Joel Embiid is going to be going after an MVP award this season. I hope for All-Star. I hope the same for Tyrese Maxey. And if he is the focal point scoring-wise on this offense, and they're able to spread that out well between Maxey, between Joel Embiid, obviously, Paul George when he comes back, Quentin Grimes getting his, VJ Edgecombe getting his, Kelly Oubre getting his. Like, I think this is going to be a very well-balanced scoring offense with not one person being the guy all the time. Like Joel Embiid, 32 points per game. Don't see that happening. Tyrese Maxey, 26, 27 points per game. Yeah, very possible. I think that's what we could be talking about with Tyrese Maxey. And yesterday, somebody brought this up on Locked On 76ers with me and Keith Pompey about how they're a team that Maxey's a chucker. I don't think Maxey's a chucker at all. I think last year he had to do an impression of a chucker because no one else be chucking. Okay. So for me, I don't think that is going to be the standard in which Tyrese Maxey is going to play his career. And I think this season will be a great testament to that. So I do look forward to the 76ers game tonight. I look forward to the 76ers season. And I think like a lot of people, I'm looking at it as, yeah, I'm ready to get hurt again. They're setting me up again for disappointment. Good times. Good times. Let's get into your Philadelphia Eagles and all that went on yesterday. Brandon Graham's back. There's only one way to look at this. I don't understand anyone that's like, he needs to be with his family. Are you hanging out with the missus? Are you hanging out with the kids? Are they all, no, Daddy, don't go. No, I very much doubt that. All right. And even if I thought that, I wouldn't say it because what are you, like, I'm not on his sofa watching them talk. Like, that's, he wants to be back. I'm sure his family is fine with it. When he was on this show in the summer, when he was at Tim Mateo Sports, and I went up and I was able to get a one-on-one with him and Zach Ertz through Ertz Family Foundation at House of Hope in Hunting Park. I got to talk to Brandon Graham and catch up with him there. We talked for about 5-6 minutes, and he was like, yeah, there's the honey-do list. But sometimes it's like, hey, you need to get out of here. You go find something to do. I remember he talked to me about cleaning up his paintball guns so he could go out paintballing. Talking about trash talking on the golf course, which is just hysterical to think that you could be on the golf course and Brandon Graham is trash talking you, or you hear Brandon Graham trash talk a member of his foursome. That's hysterical. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that everything's fine and dandy at home and everyone's fine and dandy with him rejoining the Eagles. I think that's safe to assume. Number two, he was playing great last year. I don't really subscribe to the thought of it's sad when an athlete hangs on. That guy is still doing or lady is still doing what they love to do. There is nothing better than doing what you love to do. So if he loves to play football and still has something left on the tank as evidence of last year playing at the level he was playing at, then yeah, come on back, dude. Where's the fault in all this? Where's the negative in all of this? And then the most important thing here, aside from feelings, the Eagles need him. The edge rusher position is a desperate position. One guy on the roster before BG steps out on that football field, most likely today at practice, one guy's got a sack, and that's Josh Uche. Okay? So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that you need an edge rusher. You also need an edge rusher if you're going to be seeing a guy like Jackson Dart scrambling around in the backfield trying to buy time for himself. Yeah, I'd love to see a veteran edge rusher get back there. Oh, Brandon Graham's available? Yeah, let's send him in there. Now, I want to be clear on this. I don't feel as if Brandon Graham is going to be a savior, but he does make you better. So I'm going to go ahead and get excited about this. As far as how all this went down, Vic Fangio yesterday at his press conference talked about BG return.
Vic, how can BG help?
We'll see. You see what kind of shape he's in, what kind of retention he has from last year. Shape comes in two forms. One, just your conditioning, but in football, shape too, contact shape. So hopefully the sooner the better.
Has this been an ongoing conversation with him? Have you been in communication with him throughout the course of the season, or?
Well, I haven't, all the way from the start, I was teasing him not to retire all the way back to last February and March. So, yeah, I've run into him. We've talked when he's come by. I always tease him about it.
If you remember that last year, Vic Fangio would always be talking about how high a level he was playing at, how great he was playing, and he's got, something left in the tank to not hang it up. He was saying that at press conferences as a very open and honest Vic Fangio tends to do. So, yeah, I don't think this is any huge surprise that he's coming back, not just because we know how much the player loves to play football, but how well he played in this scheme last year. Now, if you look at the edge rusher position right now throughout the NFL, and you just look at the top 20, okay? This is where we're at. Bryce Huff is on this list. And I know he's hurt, but he is on this list still. Just hurt. Top 20 in the NFL in win rate. And that's at 17%, people. No Philadelphia Eagle is on this list. Your highest rated defensive lineman in terms of win rate is still, not surprisingly, Jalen Carter. Moro Ajomo was on this list. Looks like he is now off this list. But yeah, you don't have a top 20 edge rusher? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it's a position of need. So please and thank you. Bring it as much as possible, especially going up against the Giants. Vic Fangio on facing Jackson Dart and the Giants again, and if they learned any lessons from 2 weeks ago.
One lesson is learned in the teams that need quarterbacks that bypass them. They're going to regret that. Obviously very athletic, an elite scrambler. I think their coaches have done a great job with him. They've developed the offense around him. Throws the ball very well, intermediate and deep. And he's a good player.
Go ahead, sir.
Is the schedule and quirk of playing the team twice in 3 weeks something you like? Is it something you dislike? What's your thought?
It doesn't happen very often. Be honest with you, I don't think it matters a whole lot.
Well, if you need a little study guide, that'd be a fine game to go to. And maybe players. Look, I don't think Vic Fangio is learning a whole hell of a lot going back and watching the film. I think out of the gate, you kind of understood. I think you're also looking at it and going, wow, you didn't have Jalen Carter in that game, having Jalen Carter in this game. And honestly, Jalen Carter playing in the Vikings game or not playing in the Vikings game, that was, I know it's usually the betting world, you always talk about quarterbacks are really the only ones that shift the line. For me, Jalen Carter was going to be a big part of that because Carson Wentz could still get out there and run. Carson Wentz could still go and buy time behind the line of scrimmage. You know when he can't do that? With Jalen Carter taking him down like it's WWE. That's when he can't scramble around. Not having Jalen Carter against the Giants, troublesome. Going into the Vikings game, I was thinking, Jalen Carter plays, they're going to win a tight game. Jalen Carter doesn't play, they're going to lose a tight game. That's honestly what I felt like it was hinging on. So knowing that Jalen Carter's going to be out there this week, okay, let's party. Let's get after it. That makes me feel a whole hell of a lot better. I'm sure it also makes Vic Fangio feel a whole hell of a lot better as well, knowing that Jalen Carter's going to be in that middle of that defensive line. So that makes me feel a hell of a lot better about it. The other thing is, it makes me more confident in the Eagles players, not just because Jalen Carter's there, but I don't think Vic Fangio ever looks at anyone and goes, this guy sucks. We can do whatever we want. We'll be fine. I think that sometimes a player, although they'll never admit to it, might go, we got this. Take it for granted. And then all of a sudden that quarterback is scrambling for 19 yards. I don't think they're going to take that lightly this week. I think the Eagles are going to have absolute revenge on their mind in restoring order in the NFC East, especially after pretty much everything went your way last week, including the Buccaneers losing, the Lions winning, evens that out a little bit. Also, the Giants losing as time ticked off the clock in Denver with the Broncos coming up for the win. Obviously, the Cowboys won in a blowout. So, yeah, like I said, almost everything. And then the Washington Commanders took another L. Yeah, it's interesting, to say the least, about the way last week went out. But the Eagles are going to have another opportunity here to beat up a team that is supposed to be the basement dwellers of the NFC East. Also, probably by the time this year is done, with the injuries to Jaden Daniels this year, hamstring injury, they just dodged a bullet on there. But you could look at the New York Giants as a team that finishes above the Washington Commanders this season. But in the meantime, beat down on them. Beat down on them. And if somebody could block Brian Burns, that'd be great. That'd be great. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Offensively speaking in this game. No, actually, you know what? Defensively still. Adoree Jackson could be taken off IR this week. Or excuse me, not Adoree Jackson. Jacorian Bennett. Jacorian Bennett could be taken off IR this week. Look forward to that happening and him at least being available for the Eagles. But mum was the word from Vic Fangio yesterday and talking about who his defensive backs will be in this game. And look, to me, I think you got three very similar guys in Jackson, in Ringo, and Jacorian Bennett. Like, you don't have like a diamond in the rough there, unfortunately. But fortunately, you have Cooper DeJean and you have Quinyon Mitchell. That's what you got. But as far as the offense goes, now this is yesterday, Kevin Patullo talking about why the Eagles were under center so often against the Vikings.
I think really each week kind of presents something new. And I think this past week was a week that we felt like it could help us and give us an advantage in the game plan and open up some different things for us. And, we did that early with the runs, and then it elevated to the play actions.
So to follow up on that, the sort of the mini buy self-scout that you guys talked about, it was not more to do with we want to get better at this or game plan specific more?
I would say both, right? I think there's always things you want to get better at continuously, see if you can do them and develop them into something new. And it's got to present itself within the game, right? So you're not going to put something in or say, hey, we want to get better at this, but we can't do it this week. We'll just have to wait for the next week. So it's one of those things that's kind of organic. You really want to say, like, we want to identify things we need to get better at, but at the same time, they got to fit in each week. And then how much can you do of it within the week? And then just build from there is kind of how it started and how it went.
Well, the obvious thing out of all of this is what came out of being under center. And that was the amount of times the Eagles used play action with success. Now, 4 play action passes came out of being under center. One of them, which was a big gain over the middle of the field, came with Tank Bigsby and Christian Latsu. Is that his name? The fullback? Him in the backfield as well. So it wasn't all, oh, we got to gear up for Saquon Barkley and try to stop it. No, it's just you try to stop whatever the Eagles were showing you there. But the first time out there, second quarter play action, it was a roll to the left on the play action, like a stretch play almost. And then Jalen looped back around and rolled to his right out of it. That was the short play there. He got Dallas Goedert for 2 yards. So you didn't really get much out of it. But here's why that's significant. The first time you ran it, you barely got anything. But guess what you did? You stuck with it. But you didn't go back to it until the third quarter when Devontae Smith was in at halftime being like, hey, guys, just so you know, this is open. And I went back and I watched all 4 of these plays on the film yesterday. High end zone cam in the film, the sideline cam as well. The first play there was well designed. It just didn't really get you much there. The second one was the 79-yard bomb to Devontae Smith. And in case you haven't watched this 100 times like I did yesterday, the beautiful thing about, that was a picture-perfect play. The only thing that would have made it maybe a little bit better is if Saquon didn't have to come up and make the block, but I love that Saquon came up and made the block. So Hurts is under center, third quarter. Second and 5? What was it? It doesn't matter. They line up in this formation. They go max protect again with Fred Johnson in here. It's the first of 2 passes they completed with Fred Johnson on the field in max protect on a play action. This one was the 79-yard bomb. Jalen Hurts goes back, puts it in the belly of Saquon Barkley, pulls it out. Saquon comes up, helps out Brett Toth as the center on a block that it looked like he was losing that battle. Barkley comes up, hits the defensive lineman. Jalen drops back. And just the most perfect throw you could make. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier in the week or not, but if you go back to the Broncos game where Jalen Hurts hit Devontae Smith for that deep ball, I think that was 52 yards maybe. It was underthrown. It was still a good throw, but a great throw puts him in the end zone. And this throw was a great throw. And he hit Devontae Smith in stride. He didn't have to drag his foot. He didn't have to slow down and wait for it. He didn't have to speed up and lay out for it. Perfect throw. In stride, never broke the rhythm. In for the touchdown. Also, you go back and just watch the route that Devontae Smith runs on this. For all the kids that want to be wide receivers, watch this route. Watch how he just abuses, not physically, but mentally, abuses Isaiah Rodgers on this on outside coverage. He runs up, makes the cutout to the left. Rodgers, textbook, spins out, and while he's spinning, Devontae's like, yep, nope, cuts back in. Ball drops right in his hands. Play action play that was executed to perfection. That's exactly how you draw it up. Credit to Saquon for making sure he came up and helped with that block in the middle of the field, in the middle of the line of scrimmage. Credit to Jalen for the dead out accuracy. Credit to Devontae Smith for saying it in the locker room. Credit to Devontae Smith for running the route perfectly. And credit to Kevin Patullo, in this order, by the way, for calling that play. Also, I found it very interesting yesterday. Kevin Patullo did mention while I'm on the subject, he's like, nobody ever comes up to you in the locker room and is like, hey, I got this great play for this other guy. Like, they're always like, I got this great play to me. Like, no one ever, I thought that was funny. No one's ever like, oh, I know this play that'll work for this other guy. No, it's always because of what you're seeing, which is natural for these players. Another one came in the third quarter, a little bit later in the third quarter. Also, Fred Johnson coming into the game. Hurts actually stands into the pocket with this one on play action, and he hits Devontae Smith. And what was so awesome about this one, this was the one Devontae Smith left hashtag, it looked like, and Devontae Smith, they originally threw a flag for targeting, and then I think they picked it up. No, they kept it on there. But Jalen drops back on the play action, hits Devontae Smith over the middle for 19 yards. He sits there in the pocket, and he eats it. He gets leveled. It looked like there was a little cross-up between Fred Johnson and Lane Johnson on the right side of the line of scrimmage between the Johnsons. And I forget who it was for the Vikings, got free and just came in and boom, as Jalen Hurts was letting go of that football. But still, he delivered a good ball. 19 yards down the field. Then the last one was just a good play here. 7:30 mark of the fourth quarter, 1st and 10, Minnesota 47-yard line. You got Tank Bigsby in the backfield, and then you got Latu in the backfield as well. 20 yards, middle of the line, middle of the field. Devontae Smith, wide open. He's literally nobody's like 10 yards within 10 yards of him, and Jalen hits him perfectly. Little play action like that, freeze the linebackers, keep the safeties guessing, because that's where the safeties are trying to look in that backfield to see what's coming. And even with Tank Bigsby in the backfield, they're able to pull off a 20-yard gain with a little play action play. All that comes from under center. I think some of it in the last 2 games, at least, it worked in this one. Also helps you set things up by running the ball. And I think it was Ruben Frank, NBC Sports Philly, who asked the question about there was 5.1 yards rushing in the first quarter of games, and then watching that dwindle down as games go on. Kevin Patullo is in the mindset of the passing game works, so you stick with it, I guess. I don't know. But I'd love to see that spread out more and more as the game goes on, and not just, oh, yeah, we'll run the ball in the first quarter and have success and then totally forget about it. But, yeah, play action certainly worked well in this game. Again, 120-some yards with the Eagles passing out of play action in this game. That is pretty spectacular. Now, as far as the guy executing all this on the field with his receivers both having 100-plus yard games and him himself having a 300-plus yard game, this is what stuck out to Kevin Patullo about what Jalen Hurts did so well against the Vikings.
I think the biggest thing is his command of everything and his control of the entire game. He puts so much work into it at all times that you can feel his just presence out there, and you knew he had a great feel for what was going on. And he stood in the pocket, which was absolutely tremendous, made some big-time throws. So I think the biggest thing is that, right? His leadership and understanding what we were trying to do as an offense and the direction we were going, and just his full command of it. And everybody feeds off that, right? I mean, he was making plays when we needed him. He had a great job on scramble a few times when plays broke down. But he also stood in the pocket and made some elite throws, and it was tremendous. And guys feed off that. And so you can definitely feel his presence and his leadership out there.
I go back to Devontae Smith talking about the look in his eye and all that stuff. You go back to the Rams game in the second half, him on the sidelines, and everyone thought, "Oh, Jalen's going rogue. Jalen's going rogue." Well, they really didn't have much choice other than to throw the football. So, I think you have a guy like that. Yeah, sure, sometimes people might not like the idea of him sitting on the sidelines like he was at the Giants game, just stone-faced. They might want to see him up and about and trying to rally the guys and all that stuff. He has that in him too when it's necessary. And when he feels like he needs to do it, he does it. Because one of the things I try to keep in mind with Jalen Hurts, and this is one of the things I find so fascinating about him, there have been so many different athletes throughout sports, and I'll just keep it to Philadelphia, but guys that were like, he needs to be a rah-rah guy. He needs to be a leader. He needs to go out there and say something. Like the guy I always think of in that regard is Chase Utley. Chase wasn't that guy. Chase wasn't the guy to flip the table over and give the rah-rah speech. The talker was Jimmy Rollins. So he let Jimmy do the talking. And yeah, a lot of times still do the walking, but the guy that was always leading by example was Chase Utley. It would have been out of character for Chase to be that guy. We talk about this a lot with athletes where, if you're not that, you're born that way or you're not. So you don't try to force it because it just comes off awkward and you step out of your comfort zone. You step out of your realm of expertise and everyone knows it's fake. But with Jalen, this is 2 years ago. We're reading a story about him, about how he just lets A.J. Brown do the talking. A.J. does the talking. AJ will give the rah-rah speech. AJ will say something to the coaches. But Jalen, he just wants to go out there and be a leader by example. So that's why I find it so fascinating that all of a sudden we've heard these things from guys in the huddle, like Devontae Smith was saying. We've heard or we've seen Jalen on the sidelines of the Rams game, kind of getting guys going. We see Jalen going around when they were just about to lock up the Super Bowl victory, just giving love to everybody. That's what a leader does, and that's vocal. And that's something that Jalen Hurts 2 years ago, people weren't talking about. They were talking about, he needs to be more vocal. He needs to be more of a vocal leader and all that. And, to Jalen's credit, after they got bounced out against Tampa Bay Buccaneers and he was standing in his locker, in the same conversation where they were asking about running it back with coaches like Brian Johnson and all that, he was like, yeah, and, I need to take on more of a role as a I got to be vocal more. I realize I got to do that. And last year he did it. And this year he's doing it. And to me, it's one of the more not talked about stories that should get a lot more attention, because I don't remember anybody that wasn't a talker, that wasn't a motivator, all of a sudden doing it. And guys responding to it. Not like, yeah, okay, whatever, dude. We know this isn't you, whatever. Like, it goes to heart. And I find that pretty special. One thing I have to see with this Philadelphia Eagles team, though, at some point this year, is some established run game. Part of this is Jalen Hurts too, but mostly it's Saquon Barkley and the offensive line. I still don't understand for the life of me. I don't know the exact number, but I know it's still under 100. I don't understand for the life of me how a team with Saquon Barkley and how a team with Jalen Hurts cannot even be averaging triple digits in rushing yards per game. How is that possible? Last week it was like 93, I think it was. You are now below 90 yards per game rushing. The Philadelphia Eagles, with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, because I don't mind if Jalen Hurts takes off from time to time, tries to break a big run, keep the defense guessing that way as well. Don't let Bo Nix and Jackson Dart have all the fun. You know what I'm saying? The Eagles are the third worst rushing team in the NFL. I'll pause and repeat in case your brain just broke. The Philadelphia Eagles are the third worst rushing team in the NFL, averaging 8.1 yards per game on the ground. They are 5-2. They are winning games this year. This isn't like they're well behind every game in the second half and be like, dude, what do we do? I guess we just got to throw the ball. Forget about averaging over 100 yards a game. They're not even averaging over 90 yards a game. How in the hell's bells is that possible? Is this just the offensive line being bad? Is this, God forbid, Saquon Barkley showing the ill effects of 482 touches in a season and postseason combined? What is this? Because I don't like it. Is it Kevin Patullo being dumb? Because remember, I said that might be a thing. Like, what if he's dumb? I don't think he's dumb, for the record. I know a lot of people love to jump on the new guy. I'm not jumping on the new guy. Like I said earlier in the week, if you think Kevin Patullo is terrible, tell me 3 plays this year that were called that you liked, but they didn't work. Jalen missed a throw. Saquon missed the hole. Landon Dickerson didn't hold the block, whatever. Oh, I like that play. That was a good play by Kevin Patullo. It just didn't work. Like, how many plays like that have you said this season? So for me, I don't hate on Kevin Patullo. Do I think he's perfect? No. Do I think he's even good? Meh. I don't think he's been a major problem. That's about the nicest thing I could say. So watching all this unfold, one thing that they do need to figure out is the run game. Because if you're able to get to anything close to last year, and I'm not even talking about where Saquon goes on a pace where you're talking about, if he would have done this at the start of the year, you would have talked about 2,000 yards. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about, not being the third worst in the NFL. That's what I'm talking about. They have to find a way to get that going. And the problem for me is still the problem that happened before this Vikings game. And I said, going into this game, I have confidence that Jalen Hurts is going to play at a higher level. He's an elite quarterback. He hasn't played elite for more than 2 quarters going into last week, going into this past Sunday's game against the Vikings. He's an elite quarterback that just hasn't played elite for long enough in games this season. We finally got the nice more than 2 quarters of it against the Vikings. Kevin Patullo would get better. Whether that was him realizing things on his own or Devontae Smith being like, hey, dude, this play's open. We should do it. Touchdown. Oh, how about that? Whether it's Jalen Hurts saying, Kevin Patullo, hey, we should go under center more. Play action be nice. Let's do that. And they did it. Play action with the 3rd worst rushing team in the NFL. Hilarious. But it works. Because Saquon still scares the ever-loving hell out of some people. I had confidence Kevin Patullo was going to be better. I had confidence Jalen Hurts was going to be better. But the thing that I just don't have a lot of confidence in right now, and I will say this also, I do believe it's mostly because of injuries. I don't think that just all of a sudden Landon Dickerson sucks. I don't think that Cam Jurgens is bad. I just think they're not healthy. They're not 100%. You're not going to get healthier as the season goes on. Quite the opposite, unfortunately. So, yeah, although I was confident Jalen Hurts be better, I was confident that Kevin Patullo would get better. I'm not confident the offensive line is going to get better. If you're talking about things that have struggled or worried you on the offensive end of things this year, the offensive line is number 1 to me. And I said that going into the last week. I said that going into the Giants game. The offensive line is what concerns me the most. Because if they can't open up holes for Saquon Barkley, there goes that. And here we are. It's gone. And that's the one area of concern that I don't see the Eagles getting better at as the season goes on. Because you're not going to get healthier in the midst of an NFL season. So the Eagles, unfortunately, as far as the offensive line goes, have to find a way to establish the run, have success in that, so that it's not all on Jalen's arm. And that's the unfortunate reality of this season, and it could end up costing them down the line. Look, you got tough games against the Lions coming up here. You got a tough game coming up against the Bills, obviously, after the bye week and all that. You got a tough game against the Green Bay Packers. There's still a lot of heavy meat on the bone for this Eagles team as the season goes on, even after playing the Rams and playing the Chiefs and playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And coming away with wins, by the way, in all those. Finding a way to establish that run game is going to help take this team to the next level. And what I mean by that is where you might not be as reliant on a Jordan Davis blocked field goal, where you might not be as reliant on a pick 6 by Jalix Hunt, where you might not be as reliant on an interception on the goal line by Drew Makuba against the Chiefs, where you'll actually do something that you did a lot of last year, impose your will. Find a way to crack that code somehow, some way. I think the real answer is going to come not from necessarily running the football, but for the first time ever, I am actually willing to accept that screen passes are like run plays. And even though when Andy Reid said it, it drove me bananas every time. Well, that screen throw, that's like a run. Shut up. I don't need like a run. I need runs. That was, of course, when you're running 40% of the time, and that's being generous, as opposed to throwing it 60% of the time. I'll take it right now. If you can get the ball to Saquon Barkley in space, do it. And if you're not doing it, find a way to do it. Similar to A.J. Brown not getting, I'll call, reasonable targets in the very early goings of the season. And I say reasonable because those 9 targets in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, like really there was 2 targets, like legit catchable balls. But I will say this, like I said about A.J. Brown, I don't mind him targeting A.J. Brown. I don't mind him trying to get the ball to A.J. Brown's hands. A.J. Brown's a good football player, a really good football player. I like it when the ball is in the hands of a really good football player that can make guys miss, make a big play, advance the football, catch the ball, by the way. It's pretty damn good at doing that. I don't mind getting the ball in the hands of good football players. Saquon Barkley is a great football player. Get the ball in his hands. If it's not in his hands, find a way to get it in his hands so he can make a play. Some of the best plays I have seen from this offensive line are ones that they're able to get out and off the line of scrimmage and upfield and make blocks at the second level. If they can do that with Saquon and get him in space like they did against the Giants in his first run, keep that going. Like he did against the Minnesota Vikings early on, keep it going. Get him in space. And if running the ball isn't working, then I am willing to accept those little screen passes. We all love the screen game. We've talked about the screen game for years. We've talked about the screen game ever since, a lot with Brian Westbrook and, of course, with LaShawn McCoy. And it really feels like it's gone the way of the dodo, unfortunately, since then. But now you have an opportunity here where obviously the run game ain't working. So how are you going to get that ball in Saquon Barkley's hands? A little wheel route, another one of those, like you did against the Broncos? Yes, please, and thank you. That's something the Eagles have to crack the code of. And, hey, Kevin Patullo, let's get on that one. I mentioned the Sixers earlier. They open tonight in Boston against the Celtics. Jason Tatum being out, part of the reason why people like to use the phrase, even though I don't believe it, the East is wide open. I don't believe it's wide open, but I believe it's open. So start out with a victory tonight. It would be very nice. You got a 7:30 tip-off tonight in Boston. My number for Joel Embiid, most optimistic games that he plays in this year, 65. 65 is the most optimistic. And no, I'm not saying that because of the MVP award. I'm just saying that because I think it's a coincidence, whatever. I'm not saying it because of the MVP. That's a coincidence. It's the MVP minimum. But he looks healthy as hell. And he's going to be asked to play a different role. And I think he realizes that his legacy will be decided over the next 4 years. And if he could find a way to help this team win without being the dominant player, then I think the Sixers have the best chance of winning this year. Making the playoffs outright without the play-in tournament, and having a chance to make it out of the second round, which is not the limit or the height for me as far as excitement for this team, but at least with a new style of play this year, I think that'd be a really good first step to obviously make the playoffs without having to be in a play-in tournament, and then win the first round. I think it'd be a good step with a new style that the Sixers are going after this year. So I look forward to all that starting tonight. Win total for the Sixers. I know that this is unfortunate for a lot of people, but I look at this team being in the 42, 43 win mark. That's about where I see them. A little bit over 500. That's most optimistic and real. I think I could be with the Sixers. And again, all this depends on, this is how we're trained, unfortunately, with Joel Embiid. It's like, okay, great, he's back from this injury. What's the next one? And I in no means, no way, shape, or form wish that upon him, wish it upon anybody, but it's just how we're trained. Okay, you got back from this one. What's next? Good luck to the Sixers, hopefully managing that. I would say the real number at most 65. I could see him definitely playing 60. 65 might be a little bit of a stretch, granted all the back-to-backs, but most optimistic, I think, is 65. That's what you can expect from him. Let's get into the chat check and see how wonderful. Oh, whoa. How about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. Sean Gillespie, hello. April, hello. Danny, hello. Sean Kilrain, hello. Wayne the Pain, Football Knuckleheads, what's going on? Welcome back, BJ. Dustin, what's going on? Danny, hello. Wayne the Pain, 10 to 20 snaps when he's ready to ramp up even more later in the season for BG. Okay. Brandon Graham from Sean Kilrain, pressure rate last season, 13.1% pressure rate. Uche is 15.5. Jalix Hunt, 14.8. Moro Ajomo, 13.6. Nolan Smith, 12.1. Zadarius Smith, 11.6. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Bring it. Ooh, Wayne the Pain. Farzi, what do you hear involving trades before the deadline? I realize I don't have, unfortunately, on this any inside information as to trades. But I will say this. Here's what I can say. Having talked to Adam Schefter almost once a week for 2.5 years, he always says the same thing about Howie Roseman and the Eagles. They're in on everything. More recently, Myles Garrett's available. They're making a call. Trey Hendrickson's available. They're making a call. The Eagles are in on everything, and they got a boatload of draft picks to play with. So I'd be very surprised in a year like this if Howie Roseman only reacquired Brandon Graham out of retirement. I'd be very surprised if that's all they were going to do with the edge rusher position. James Alexander, what's going on? Tonight is the season opener for the Sixers. This is the year, no excuses. If this roster can stay healthy, they can win the East. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of, I don't think that's when people are like the Sixers could win the East. They could. I don't think it's likely, but I do think it's possible. I don't look at it and be like, they'll be lucky to make the play-in tournament. No. I know that everything hinges on Joel Embiid staying healthy. That's the number one. That's the most important thing. But I got to go on what I'm looking at right now. And what I'm looking at right now is a guy that is leaner, a guy that's playing a different style of basketball, and looks like he's going to be starting out the season healthy. And that is far ahead of schedule of anything else. Oh, yeah. Tate Jeffries. Didn't realize how much I missed NBC, NBA intros. Round Ball Rock. You know what? I got to say, I'm really proud of, I don't know if he produced the game last night or not, but my man Josh Veltri is going to be producing these NBA games for NBC. He's a friend of mine from my Sunday Night Football days. He's a great dude, and he loves basketball. Like, it's interesting. So Fred Godelli was my boss, the producer of Sunday Night Football for 11 years, and I absolutely love Fred. I'd run through a wall for that guy to this day. And I haven't been on the crew in like 7 years, 8 years. But Fred loves football. Like, Fred's the kind of guy in a jovial, non-narcissist way. If somebody was to ask him, like, you know anything about football? He'd be like, yeah, everything. Like, that's it, because he's just such a fan. Like, he is a football fan. And to know that that guy's sitting in the driver's seat, or was sitting in the driver's seat for Sunday Night Football for all those years, it was comforting to get to know him and be like, oh, this guy just loves football. It's not like he's some tech nerd that doesn't know what he's doing. No, he loves the game and wants to put the game in your living room. Josh is like that. Josh Veltri is like that with basketball. He loves basketball, loves hoops. So now that guy's going to be at the helm, man. I couldn't be happier for him, and it's so awesome. But yeah, so enjoy those games and know that there's good people working behind the scenes. Eastern Conference wide open. I don't go with the wide open thing. That, like, I still think the Pacers are going to be pretty good despite Halliburton not being there. The Cavs are still an up-and-coming team. The Magic are still an up-and-coming team. Yeah, I just don't think it's as wide open as some people are making it out to be. Far as you would trade a first and a third rounder for Max Crosby, no. I wouldn't trade a first. I'd go second. Just because this is the window, man. You know you got a franchise quarterback. You know you got a great running back. You know you got the receivers. And your biggest position in need is defensive end, or edge rusher, excuse me. So this is the time to strike. So, yeah, if you're telling me that he's on the team tomorrow, yeah, I'm happy. But a first rounder, I don't think I'm doing that. I think I'd go with a second rounder. Oh, right. Who goes deeper in the playoffs this year? Sixers, Flyers, Wings, or WNBA team? WNBA team doesn't start for another 5 years. I have half kidded that WNBA team will make it out of the second round before the Sixers do. Who makes it out of the second round this year? Or who goes deeper in the playoffs this year? I'm going to say the Sixers. I like the Fly. This is a really good for people that are casual hockey fans. Like, oh, the Flyers won, nice. Like, they don't even pay attention. They're just like, oh, they won, nice. Like, I'll just put it like that. For the people that only want to watch hockey when it's playoff hockey, I'm going to tell you this. This year is a great year to watch the Flyers. I don't think they're a playoff team this year. I do think they're going to be playing meaningful games at the end of the season, though. And then I think next year is the year that they grab you again. I would love to say it's this year, but I think they got some young up-and-coming guys that are still finding their way in the NHL. still figuring out how to be a professional. Matvey Mishkov being one of them. TK, Travis Connecting, is just always a blast. They got a hard-nosed guy always in Sean Couturier, but a lot of the younger guys that you're going to see come up and really establish themselves, this is the year to watch that development. And then next year, when they got boatloads of money, then that'll be a season where we're talking about a postseason push. Oh, they got the 1 o'clock game, do they, this week? Tom Brady and the crew. There you go. So Tom Brady will get the inside information. Ken Saad, hello. Good morning. Nice to see you. Sean Coney, Jalen Hurts currently on pace for 3,650 yards passing, 12 rushing touchdowns. Not too bad. Cousin. Hoping for at least 54-28. Wait, for the Giants game? 54-28? Oh, high 58 degrees? Okay. Having played 50 games, the porcelain process doll, as far as he's playing 50 games. I wouldn't put it, I would, that's fine. I would not be surprised if all he played was 50 games. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Tonight, 7:30, Sixers, Celtics. I'll be breaking it all down tomorrow. And also a little bit later today, 10:30, we're shooting for Locked On 76ers. Keith Pompey is up in Boston. So they got shoot around and all that, and then we're going to do the show after that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You guys are great as per usual. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is The Farzi Show. Make sure you like and subscribe to The Farzi Show. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On 76ers as well, where I and Keith Pompey break it down for you each and every day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. See you guys tomorrow.